Welcome back, everyone. We are joined by an absolute powerhouse trainer today, Arika Harden, who is going to be sharing her experience with both the NASM CPT and CNS, the Certified Nutrition Specialist exams. And she's also going to share a ton of tips from the field. So welcome, Arika.
Thank you so much. I'm honestly like just flattered that you thought to ask me to do this. So
You
thank
are
you.
a great resource for our audience, and I can't wait to hear everything that you're going to share. So before we get underway with the test kind of info, do you want to share a little bit of info on your background?
Gosh. So I mean, honestly, my first interest in fitness started as a young athlete. I mean, I've played soccer my whole life, got into, full ride scholarship to play soccer out of state, did the whole track cross country thing, and then just kind of having injuries, seeing people, in careers through injuries. I always just kind of wanted to have this competitive, don't get hurt, stay ahead kind of mentality. And then just after college and like when life just really gets real, just learning all those little disciplines that you learn as a younger athlete just kind of carries you through. So really my passion for fitness and being healthy, being strong started with soccer. And then my adult years, got into bodybuilding, wanted something harder than just going to the gym and paying a trainer. Like I wanted more of a specific route. And then at the peak of my fitness, competed, had a great time. I plan on doing it again before I turn 45. And once I was released back into the wild, I decided to get back into soccer. Got back into soccer, and lo and behold, got a devastating injury where I fractured my foot and had to learn how to walk again, had to learn from scratch. And again, building on those disciplines, building on that grit, that mindset, building on just that slow progression of just like progress, not perfection, grace, and all the things. And then after 4.5 months, got back into fitness and started teaching fitness classes and did a whole bunch of things to get back. And now I'm using that as a way to help my clients and also just kind of instill in the people that I work with, because again, so many things happen in life and you just have to get back to your roots and why you want to succeed the way you do with your fitness.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and in a little bit, we're going to come full circle then and talk about how all of this has come together in your current niche. And it's really cool. It's a very common theme on our program about what sports teach you. And I think that there are, like a lot of
Mhm.
people in our field have an athletic background, and it's
Yep.
learning how to leverage that
Yes.
into this field. So it's a different field. It is, right? But there is a lot of overlap, and it is those mental and life skills that prepare you for any field that I think are
Absolutely.
invaluable. Yeah, so I'm really happy to
Absolutely.
hear that you're working with youth athletes. Um,
Yes.
okay, so let's talk a little bit about your cert. Why did you decide? So you were already successful. So why did you decide to get your NASM CPT?
So, great question. Goodness. So many, you could argue that it doesn't take titles to get you in a certain places, but let's be honest, in a world that is saturated with a lot of social media, people that just do a lot of talking and influencers, it's really nice to have an educated coach. I don't know about you, but if I go see a doctor, I want the one that made the better grades. And I want the one that knows more of the science and can explain to me why certain things are the way they are. So, yes, there are things that are common sense. There are things that make sense when you're coaching someone, when you're trying to help them lose weight, gain muscle, whatever it is. But I decided to get my cert one because I wanted to prove to myself that I could accomplish something as difficult, right? Because NASM is the higher tier of the certs, and then two, I also I mean, that was my key into the industry. Where if I wanted to work anywhere reputable, that's what I needed, and so I wanted to go for the top instruction certification, and then also um, it just there's just a credit. There's like a good community within the NASM, like people that I got to meet you. I get to meet other, because there are certain things that, oh, like, yeah, I got NASM certified or other certifications. And there's just a difference. So I wanted that higher level.
Yeah, really great points. And I think for the people that are considering becoming a CPT and aren't sure of what cert to pick, NASM commands a respect that you could be the best trainer in the world. And if you have a different one, there might be questions. So just saying that you have obtained the NASM cert answers a lot of questions, because there's no way to fake it on that test, right? So I think like it communicates that you have an understanding of anatomy, physiology, kinesiology, biomechanics, all of these
Mm,
things of like when you're saying, like you said, that the level that you're bringing to the field, that you never have to try to sell anybody on that if you already have the cert. Yeah, very good. And
absolutely.
then, so shortly after you got certified, you went on to get your nutrition specialist. So what prompted that?
Yes. I mean, that's the full picture, you know. I mean, it's crazy when you start talking to people about, well, you know, what did you eat today, and how do you feel, and you know, kind of what's going on with you. And it's amazing how people still, just the misinformation that it's not just the physical aspect of losing weight and it's getting fitter. It's also what you're putting in your mouth, what you're putting in your body, and how you're fueling it. And again, I just wanted more exposure to the different types of people that I'd be working with, and I was so glad I did, because I have worked with people that were diabetic, or I have had people that I worked with that had not just necessarily high blood pressure, but just had certain conditions that predisposed them to whatever they ate. It really made a difference, right? I mean, you talk about inflammation, what are you eating, you know, or have you, you know, hormone things, and just it's the ability to ask questions because you've been educated in just really getting a full picture of a person, not just like what they physically can do, but what's going on the inside. I mean, our wellness is 90% of what we eat. So I just, again, wanted the full gamut of skill sets to not just, to not necessarily feel insecure about me being a trainer, but just to know how to help the whole person. So I quickly, I mean, you know, I quickly went and got my nutrition cert because I wanted to be able to offer more services.
Yeah, and again, think of how effectively you communicate to someone what you specialize in when you say, I have this. I obtained
Yes.
my CPT and now I have my CNS. And when you tell them what CNS stands for, there is no confusion of what kind of services you could provide. So I think that is one of the beauties of continuing ed from the marketing standpoint. All right, so
Yes.
you also have a really fantastic story of entering the field and really, I mean, you you really succeeded right away. So what kind of tips can you share for those that are going to be applying for their first job or are still kind of new in the field?
Just be humble enough to get to build. I mean, I have never had the disposition of believing that just because I had something like a higher education or a different cert, that I was below doing things that I thought were trivial. I mean, because trust me, there were times where I had to do tasks. I didn't have to. Again, we don't have to. We're adults, but it's more of like I there's always something to learn. So, for example, when I first, I finished, I passed my cert on December 30th, or the 28th of last year.
Yeah, we're almost at the
Um,
anniversary.
Last year. And so, oh, that's crazy. And so, in January, so in January, I did nothing but booth. I did nutrition booths. I would sample booths. I would just stand at booths and like talk to people. I'm pretty comfortable with some like with talking, because I'm also a fitness instructor. So like giving me a microphone is the worst thing you could do. Like
Yeah.
I don't care. But if you're, here's the deal, being a trainer, you're in sales. There are just some things that are monumental in just building a business, and that's your presence. So the best thing you could do is to put yourself out there. You know, talk to people, get comfortable, know your product. Know you don't have to, here's the thing, you don't have to sell someone on what you know until they're interested in what you
Yes.
have to say. And so, I mean, and that sounds so cliche, and I can't believe I just said that, but it's just so true. I was okay with being at a booth every single day if it got me in front of people. And to be honest, all of my clients, I mean, like I grew pretty fast. So in February, I broke I broke a pretty big record, and ended up having like 11,000, 15,000, something like that
Yes,
in
second
sales.
month on the job. Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah. And so, but here's the deal. How successful I was in February was built in January.
Yeah.
And so
Mm.
all of that talking and meeting people and just asking questions and just putting my face out there, talking with the people that were sending me leads, talking
Yeah.
with them, so if you work in a facility where you're dependent upon other teammates, like a front desk, or whoever's in charge of like sales or marketing, get to know them. And it just, yeah, I mean, that's just kind of how it happened. And ever since then, and then after January, it got even bigger, because then those clients were telling their friends, and so now those single one-on-ones became partners, became groups. So now I was able to capitalize on a single hour, by just, again, giving the attention that someone knew, but also they're like, oh, well, Erica is so and so because we met her back in January. Oh, so things like that.
Yeah, so that was like loaded with lots of great tips. So
Sorry.
it's kind of like you followed the path that I recommend for all trainers, but in this accelerated format. So usually it's like, you get the gym floor experience, you're starting to learn how to sell, and then you have to figure out how to work smarter. And that's one of the things that you hit on right away, is doing things like small group, big group, where you can decrease your hourly rate per person, but you're actually increasing your
Correct.
personal rate. So yeah, that's
Correct.
really, I think that was a great tip. Another thing is like the selling value. This is one thing that I always talk about, is like, you like you said, people don't care about our qualifications or our background, any of these things. Like, that's not even on their radar until we paint a picture for them that we can provide something that they currently want that they cannot do without us. That's when they might start asking other questions. And a lot of times they don't even care, right? They still, like, they're either going to buy in or not based on the picture that you're going to paint for them. So that's why, like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
encourage the young trainers and new trainers to practice that, to practice identifying. Like, if you want to have this cookie cutter sales pitch where it's the same thing every time, it's hardly ever going to work. But when you can interview people that you're able to effectively extract information about what they value and what they want out of it, that's what you're selling, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it
And
sounds like you're doing that phenomenally.
oh, I mean, and I'm also older, I mean, like, and let's be honest, like, I didn't mean to just, cut you short,
No,
but
no, go for it.
I work with a lot of younger trainers, new time trainers that are new to sales and that are new to training in general. Maybe they have a background where it wasn't a big deal, and they could do exactly, they were a good student. It's just one of those things where I, when I see a younger trainer, and I talk with them, um, a lot of times they're behind the booth. They're not really talking to people. They've kind of shied away from putting themselves out there. And I think my biggest tip for someone who is just really unsure if they have what it takes to be a trainer, but they're going through the training, they're going through the education, is, again, you have to be able to live the comfortable fitness life, right? Because a lot of the people that are coming to the gym are nervous about going on the floor. They're
Right.
nervous about making a mistake or looking silly, or and so my biggest advice: go work out, like, on the floor at the gym that you train at. Be present, be visible. Get in those booths, but don't be afraid of no's, don't be afraid of any of that. And so,
Yes. Right. Like, it's not
yes.
personal. It's never going to be personal. If they say no, it's not because they're looking at you and saying, yes, I want this, but I don't want this from you. Right.
Correct.
Sometimes in the
Yes.
beginning, it can feel like that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, this is such good advice. So I think some of the advice that you're sharing is really great for our Gen Z audience, especially because they are entering the workforce. They want to be successful, but they have also grown up with, like, the prevailing views are kind of sometimes in conflict with that, especially when it comes to being your, like, authentic self all the time. This desire to always show everything that you are. I think it's great that there is the drive to not be fake, not be superficial, not be false, but it's also kind of moderating that and knowing that there are situations where you want to show aspects of yourself, or like you're saying, like in the beginning of this, you want to present yourself with confidence, even if it's a fake it till you make it kind of confidence, right? You have the skills, you just don't have the experience yet to feel that confidence, like to really embody that confidence. But it doesn't mean that you should go into the workplace and show your fears, right? Or discuss your fears with potential clients. These are things that are not going to lead to a sale. So I think it's kind of learning how to navigate what matters, like what your core values are, and also what creates success professionally.
Yeah, for sure. I
And then
mean,
I also mentioned word of mouth. And I think living in the age of social media, that kind of falls by the wayside, that we have lost sight of how valuable word of mouth marketing is. So
yes,
how would you kind of advise younger people with that?
to grow their business word of mouth, or how to just kind of create. Okay, so we all have these childhood memories, right? We have these memories of places that we've been, places of nostalgic things that we ate as a child or did as a child. And you want to create a sensation feeling within a rapport with someone that it just made someone feel so at ease. I mean, because there have been plenty of people that I've had conversations with, and they still chose to not train, whether it was a financial decision, it was an anxiety decision. They're like, you know what, I'm just not ready yet. And that's fine. But I will say, building a business by word of mouth comes from making someone feel like they're heard. Because here's the deal. You have a lot of people that come into a gym, a country club, a facility, and they're very insecure. They're very distraught with what's happened to their body, especially with women and postpartum and having a surgery that's knocked them completely off guard, and they have lost every single ounce of muscle tissue, whatever. Um, and I think what I would just really encourage them to do is to lead with empathy and to really try. Look, being young, you might also be discredited because you're young. And again, it's not about necessarily the years that you've been training, because there's also people that don't want an older trainer because they
Right.
want someone younger that can have more energy and they can have all the other I mean, right, like there's always stereotypes to fight. But I think for our younger generation, it is more about, are you really interested in helping me with my problem? It's
Yes.
not about, it's not about, can this 20 something year old tell me about something about my body that I don't already know? It is about, look, like, are you professional? Do you look at me when I'm talking to you, or are you on your phone? Do you even remember my name, or am I, ma'am, or,
Right.
so for example, I do this with all the time with me. And again, this is something that helps me, and this is just things that I've learned in my own sales background, is whenever someone comes into our fitness facility, we have what's called an intro to training. We also have like intros to body composition, we have intro to stretch, we have all these intros, and half the time these members don't even know what they mean. They're like, oh yeah, I'm just getting a free session.
Right.
Okay. So the day before, at least minimum, the day before, I will message them, because we're given a roster. And on that roster, we have their email, their phone number. And I will text them and I'll say, hey, my name is so and so. I'm with my fitness facility. I'm with my club. You and I have a session tomorrow at such and such for this. I'll meet you in our cafe, because we have a cafe at our gym. And so then I'll buy them a cup of coffee. I'll buy them some hot tea. I'll buy them a smoothie, and I'll explain to them, hey, by the way, like, when you order, use like, I'll just take them under my wing. Like, it's almost like you're showing a family member around. So, like, my biggest advice is just like to really make people feel like you care, that they're there. And like you said, don't be fake about it, but just because people are coming with their vulnerabilities.
Yeah. Hmm.
There's a lot of men and women that I've trained that have literally led the conversation with, I got a divorce and I just want to be a better version of myself.
Yeah.
And that's sacred. Like, so that's how I've just built a successful business for the most part, because most people will when they share my name, and I've heard this many times before, is like, Erica bought me a cup of tea or a cup of coffee, and I was really just scared to even walk in the gym.
Yeah. Oh, it's great.
You know,
It's so great. So, I think one of the reasons that you and I hit it off initially, and this is what I was going to say before you even gave that response, was that I think when we both have the same approach to work, where no matter what's happening in your life, whether it's stress, whether you're sick, whether you're tired, none of that matters. When you're at work, you're on, and that's it.
it matters, but it doesn't.
Yeah,
You know
you
what I
get what I
mean?
mean. Like when you're
Yes.
in work, like when you're in work mode, like you're
Sure.
not going to
Yes.
bring that into the work environment, because the person in front of you is the center of your world. And that is how you want them to feel. Like, I think, again, is like the younger people have been kind of brought up to bring that stuff wherever they are. And I want them to kind of think of this in reverse. So imagine if you came to the trainer and the trainer was like, oh, I'd like to help you, but I'm having these problems at home. Like, that's not the right kind of environment to bring that. And what I have found too is that there is like, oh gosh, there's so much relief, right? Like no matter what kind of stress you have going on, when you can learn to compartmentalize your life, then things can be kind of working on different tracks, parallel, sometimes intersecting, but that it doesn't have to be like, no matter what is happening in your life that's a challenge, it doesn't have to be all consuming because you've learned how to keep things separate.
Yes. Well, and the thing is too, and I'll just end on this note, is that a lot of times, so here's where people get really messy, is clients aren't your friends. Like,
No.
they're not your friends. Yes, they ask how your day is. Yes, they might get you a Christmas gift, they might get you a birthday gift, but you need them to keep spending money on your brand, right? Like, I mean, there is such a thing as turnover. And it's not just about you, because making the sale and having them, hiring them as a client is the easiest part of this entire transaction, right? And I hate to talk about this as a transactional deal, but you can even think about it as a rapport. But business side, you have bills to pay and you're supposed to be a professional. So if I want a trainer who, so if I'm the kind of person that needs someone to look, I'm a mom when I'm tired, when I'm hungry, when I'm stressed, when I just cried in my car and I want to come to the gym, I need my trainer to do that too,
Yeah.
and more and better.
Yes.
And so
Mhm.
I don't need you, sharing your problems, because now I'm like, I mean, sister, like, like I don't, I mean, I care, but I don't care. So just remember that you have a professional brand that should be very, very important to you. And again, your coworkers, they're supportive of you, but they're not your friends. Your boss is supportive of you, but their role is to not be your friend. Your clients who are paying you their hard-earned money, whether it's a ridiculous rate or not, um, they're not there to hear about your relationship issues. They're there to get better, to just forget about their problems. Why would they want yours? So just remember that, because that's also protecting them from even sometimes your bad habits.
Yeah. Okay. And I'm glad you brought that up because I think also there is this wonderful dynamic where we very quickly become maybe in the top five of somebody's life, right? That what we're providing is of such value that they see us as a central figure. And I think like what
100%.
happens in return, we love these people. We care about everyone that we work with. But like you're saying,
Yes.
there is that boundary. So it's kind of this uneven relationship where they're going to be
Mhm.
sharing with us everything that's happening because of how much they value us and how close we are to the center of their being, but then also in return that it doesn't kind of reciprocate that way. It is an odd relationship to navigate.
It is. It is, but if you think about it, their interest in you is based on your pouring out into them,
Yeah.
right? Like their results or how they feel or how, so in a way, yes, like in a way, yes, like they're asking you how you're doing and they're doing all these things and they're sharing all these things with you, but you're also having to keep the focus and look, we're here, we're together because I'm here to keep you on track. So yes, it is an emotional, social kind of an unbalanced thing. But if you think about it too, like what is the value of what you bring? And you don't bring value to the relationship because of your like, exchanging issues. You're bringing your expertise, your education, your energy. That's your currency. So again, I think it's always, I think because we're human beings, we try to make our surroundings and our situation comfortable, but I just would really caution, yes, be comfortable with instructing them, be comfortable with calling out bad form, or be comfortable with, calling out bad mindsets, but also be comfortable enough to even check yourself and be like, okay, like, like I don't need to share this. I don't need to be making excuses for myself or whatever. So I just,
Yeah.
yeah, keep it
Beautifully said.
professional.
Yeah, beautifully said. Thank you for sharing all of that. All right, so let's talk about what has happened then over the course of the last year because you have rapidly evolved and expanded. I mean, your success is really unparalleled.
Thank you.
So what's happening now?
What's happening now? Okay, so I mean, like right now we are in the midst of really a slow season, right? December, like everyone's saving their money. We're gonna see these people again in January, whether, we always kind of joke in the gym like, see you in January, January 1. But right now, I feel like I was always taught that if you're not busy doing something, then there's always a preparation moment. During days where I either have a client get sick, because again, tis the season, you have a client that's on vacation, tis the season, then it is your due diligence to get educated, take CEUs, go work out, like go invest in you, go take classes and get to meet people and say, hey, I'm a trainer here. Like man, that was so much, you know what I mean? Like just
Yeah.
there's always seeds to plant in every single season. So just to make the most of your time. So that's what I'm doing right now. Like today, I'm also YTT certified. So I love taking yoga, and then I'll a couple of other people that take classes with me. I have these things sometimes called like, workout with Erica. It's like a free workout where members
Cool.
can
That's a
come and
great
they'll just like,
idea.
yeah, and just come and like work out with me. And you don't have to pay me. Just have fun. It's 30 minutes, it's an hour, and I'll take them through one of my one of my leg days, one of my upper body days. And next thing I know, like they're just like, oh my gosh, that was so much fun. So just little things like that. But I'm hoping to do more clinics. I like to do a lot. I love teaching. I love teaching. I'm also a stretch specialist at my facility, so I'm picking up way more mobility and stretch clients right now than I am training clients, which I love because these are also men and women that I see on the floor when I'm lifting. I'll invite them to take my classes. I'll invite them to, go to yoga with me. So a lot of it is just, again, planting seeds. So I at one point I had 16 clients, and I was working a lot, I mean 16 clients doesn't sound like a lot. 16 like training sessions, usually in about 2 or 3 days, and then they would come back like they were 2 or 3 times a week. And so yeah, so I mean when I say clients, like that's not the frequency. So now I'm a little less. And, again, with the frequency of just them coming in, like, oh, like I had a client today cancel because of strep throat. So during the time that she didn't come in, I called all my clients, had them show up a little bit earlier today. Then I went on the floor, had a workout. While I was working out, a member that had taken one of my yoga classes was there, and she was like, oh my gosh, like I remember you. I didn't get a chance to say goodbye. She signed up as a client. So there's always things that you could be doing to build something. And it's not necessarily like I'm going to build to be, I want money. It's more of like, no, like I'm keeping the fire going by adding a
Yeah.
log at a time. And so there's always something to do. There's always something to build, whether you're pouring into yourself, you're pouring into others, you're pouring into your facility. Be present, be visible. So that's kind of what I've been doing this month.
Yeah. Great analogy with the fire and the log. I like that a lot.
Thanks.
And what else do you have going on in the sports space now?
Wow. Okay. So I think the last time that I think we spoke, maybe yeah, I joined a very, very C-level semi-pro team, soccer team, and I ended up playing with my daughter who's in high school. She's now a
So cool.
senior. And so I have used that quite a bit to work with athletes, with youth, with younger athletes at my gym and their parents. And I really want to do a recovery and mobility injury prevention kind of workshop for these athletes that are off of school now. And again, it's not necessarily specialized for a specific sport because those are so saturated in my area. And their parents are already spending so much money, but right now it's how do we keep these kids active? How do we keep them disciplined? And honestly, for those next level kiddos, how can we get them ahead of the competition? And a lot of times you have kids that are doing more hours, more pressure. There's less grass fields around. So now people are using more turf. There's a lot more shin splints. There's a lot more knee problems, ACL, MCL, like all the things, right? And so my stretch and mobility business has been skyrocketing because I'm doing a lot of injury stuff, like injury prevention stuff. So um, that's just kind of my next, I think, niche that I'm really excited about diving into because that's just near and dear to my heart from, me breaking my foot and all the mental things that go with that. Even my own daughter, she tore her ATFL Gosh, yeah, also last December. And she's doing great now. You know, she's still playing. She's getting ready to go to play in Spain.
Mhm.
So it's just been, you know, something that we've been able to really just talk to a lot of people about. So I really just hope to build a sports, not medicine, but just kind of like a sports training
Yeah.
department at my gym.
It's so cool and it's so valuable. So that's the kind of work that I do with professional athletes, where it's the biomechanical analysis, the corrective exercise programming, where everything's always going to serve two purposes concurrently, and you don't know which one people want. Either they want to improve their power output or they want to prevent the recurrence of an injury. It's the same solution to both things, right? So I love working at that level because it
Mhm.
is the highest level that the body can produce at. But I think doing
Mhm.
it when they're young. Like
Yes.
the dividends that pays is that they're going to learn the way that the human body should be moving, right? So they're going to learn it in the
Yes.
context of what motivates them, which is going to be sports performance, and that's great. As long as we can latch on to anything that they're interested in, then it's so cool to see young people be able to move better and then think about the trajectory of their lives and the number of injuries that they would have been susceptible to before that now they're not going to, and that their joints are not going to break down in the same way because they're not going to be having these abnormal wear patterns. It's so cool. It's
Mhm.
really, really good work.
That's interesting. Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
So the next thing I want to talk to you about is representation. So you are a mom, you are a woman. You came into the
Yes.
field, you were already a mom. So even though I do it now as a mom, when I got into the field, that was that was the easy time. It was when you could work 80, 100-hour weeks and there was nobody taking your time, right? Like it was hard.
Yes.
It was hard work, but there was like a lot of freedom of the schedule. So how are those things important to you?
Unfortunately, I'm one of those people that have to learn the hard way. I jump in head first because I'm so excited and I'm very passionate about what I do and what I know. And I think over time, when I mean, again, I was a fitness instructor for the longest time, and I remember bringing my girls who were a lot smaller. I'd bring them into the gym, had to check them into the childcare, go teach my class, go back and pick them up. There were days where it was a lot of, you know, oh please come on, you know, let's go. We're going to be late, and oh you're going to make me late, and I think now that they've grown up, seeing their mom show up for people and I mean, because they've also been around me when they were little. When a client has a member, a client has come up to me, thank you so much. Your class was so much fun. Oh my gosh. And they'll look at my girls. Oh, we love your mom. I
Mm,
think when they start seeing and they start hearing things like we belonging to a community and belonging to a gym becomes now normal. Which if you belong to a gym, you belong to a community, that means you must like that means like, you know, your wellness, your well-being is more than just, you know, sitting home watching TV. Another big part of where I struggled with just kind of fighting more time with was how much their youth sports would monopolize our schedule.
yeah.
You know, because they were in travel soccer. They've been in travel soccer since, you know, they were little. And and you know, their dad and I, we've also been soccer players our whole lives, and so we would never take that away from them and fight against that. Like we always found a way to make it happen. But being in this industry, it does demand a lot of energy and a lot of intentionality that you have to just muster up and say, I really want this, and I'm just going to fight through the uncomfortable,
Yes.
you know, situations. But I think it's so rewarding, and why it's important to me and how I prioritize it is my kids get to see me be active. They get to see me lift weights and strengthen. And they also got to see me go through it in like both unhealthy and healthy ways, right? They got to see me compete in soccer. They've seen me compete in high rocks. They've seen me compete in bodybuilding. They've seen me compete in this UPSL thing for soccer. And so they now have this legacy of what normal looks like for a 30, 40-year-old woman, instead of maybe how we grew up. You just work, 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 work. You sit
Yeah.
at a
And there was no
desk.
fitness.
Yeah. So I mean, and is this lifestyle for everyone? Is it fair? No, like not fair, but just like, is it something that everyone can and should do? Like, I guess not. But it's also one of those things like where because I prioritized my own health no more than any other person, but that was important to me because also my parents always put their health second, third, fourth, fifth to my sisters. And I just didn't want my girls seeing that. So it was just, I mean, it's a battle sometimes, right? Because on the days that you don't want to do certain things, you don't want to meal prep, you don't want to take the extra 15 minutes and do some kind of like stretch or band work before you go
Yeah.
lift. It just, you're just creating what's normal for you.
Yeah.
And I think so many times people don't invest in their health and wellness because it's not normal to them. It's it's extraneous, it's too hard. It's like, but if you did it for 2 weeks, if you did this, would it be hard or would it just be different? So I don't know. I mean,
Right.
it's up for debate, but honestly, like one of those things is I valued it and I prioritized it because I knew that I wanted to be healthier than my parents and I want my kids to be healthier than me.
Yeah. And you know, it is so cool to see like that you're able to instill the value that you set out to. So like for example, my daughter recently saw some sort of t-shirt that said like girls can do anything. And she when she saw it, she started laughing. And I was like, "What are you laughing at?" And she said, "What does that mean? Does that mean that boys can't do anything?" Like her world is so
Mhm.
different than the world that we grew up in where you needed to hear that. Like the girls needed that kind of reinforcement
Yeah.
thing. But
Yeah.
it's just for her, like the thought has never even occurred to her that there would be
Yeah.
any difference in anything in the world to the extent that when she sees that, she thought it was a negative thing about boys that inspired that t-shirt. So I think like there it's just a really it's a cool time to be able to be so impactful with your values and especially to know like what you're doing is so effective with your girls. It's really
Yes.
empowering.
And I will say too, because I know, so I follow quite a few, yes, accounts on social media, and I usually just follow accounts of women and men who are coaches, but mostly women who have been in my shoes. So it's just something that I'll follow their their nutrition. I follow a lot of bodybuilders who are natural bodybuilders who do certain things that align with my values. Um, and there was this one account who I started following, and I just will never forget. She won me over again, and she's younger than me. She's never had a kid. She's, super fit, super attractive, has all like the beautiful meals, that are social
Yeah.
media worthy. Nothing that I could do, right? But I don't care. I do other things. And uh one of the videos that she made, she showed this video of her struggling. It was like a behind the scenes kind of thing. And she talked about how um she just wanted to that one of that a comment that she had gotten was from another woman and how it was about her credibility. And one of the things that she said in response to this, and it wasn't nasty, it was pretty profound. She said something about like, in a nutshell, I'm doing this not to show you what you can't do. I'm not doing this to show you what you don't have. I'm doing this because I had to battle certain things to learn to know and to be who I am today. She goes, that's all. And if you want to take it, take it. But if you don't, then like you can't take the value from what I've experienced and why I'm sharing. And I just really love that because how many times do we look at someone, do we watch someone and that, we build this perspective of them if
Yeah.
we're honest because I mean, the fitness industry is a very like aesthetic pleasing industry, right? Like
Sure.
it's very, just very superficial, very judgmental, right? Which is fine. And then but for her to just say, like, this is not how I started, like, and she would show pictures of her the last 15 years,
Yeah.
what she looked like before, how she ate before, and all the things. And she just was like, I evolved, my social circles evolved, my financials evolved, my sacrifices evolved. She goes, and that's why I'm here today. And I just really appreciate that because I feel like we look at someone and we're like, I could never do XYZ because I don't look like them. I don't have their genetics and whatever. And it's just like, I have really appreciated being in this industry at my age, at the time that I am, because I really feel like there's so many of us that are living proof of at a certain age, at a certain experience, at a certain time in your life, you just decided I just got to get healthier. I got to get stronger. I have to beat the odds. I need to not be diabetic or not, you know what I mean? Like I have to do
Yes.
something. And so that's just kind of, again, another just driving force behind being in this industry and not feeling like I have to sit back to the next generation, but also empowering the next generation
Yeah.
to be better than me.
Sure. Yeah, like and sharing the knowledge that we have and a lot of it came from the generation before us. I know. And you know, one of the
Yes,
groups that really inspires me is the older adults. Like these women that are in their
for sure.
80s that have never worked out. Like you have never done I mean, hardly have even walked in their life, right? Like it's just it wasn't part of their culture growing up. And now they're told by their doctor, like, hey, you got to do this. Like, think of the level of intimidation that they're facing when they come
Oh,
into
for sure.
a facility and they do it and they get to love it. And a lot of it is not even going to be about what their physique turns into, right? It's just going to be health oriented. So I think it's so nice right now that we have all of these things coexisting at one time.
100% agree.
Yeah. All right. So let's shift gears a little bit and talk about your experience with the test. What do you remember? Anything positive, anything negative that you could share with someone who hasn't taken the test yet?
So I am an over prepare. Um, I like to know, again, I'm going to go back to, do you want the doctor that knows, that had the better grades, or do you want the doctor that just barely skimmed through? um, the most that I remember from taking the test is how, I mean, I remember when a question was asked, the snapshot of the table, the diagram, the pictures and the labels. Like I remember, like, oh shoot, like I remember when I read this. Now I may not have given me the answer, but my brain was able to, look at a photo and be like, oh shoot, like you went over this. Um, Not all the times when I took a test, if I were to like benchmark that or bookmark that, I would move on, because it's timed. But somewhere within the test, if I answered something later on, it would spark a memory of a previous question.
Yeah.
So then I'm like, oh shoot, and I would just scroll because it was all electronic. So I would go back and then answer it. So I think the coolest part of that was just realizing you know more than you think you do if you take the time to study, you take the time to really absorb. Like, I mean, it's gonna sound really nerded and geeked out, but make flashcards and make diagrams and watch the videos. Don't try to learn everything, I mean, like you're not a textbook, so nobody wants to hire a textbook. But I can also remember that there have been clients that have had certain situations, especially with the nutrition part, that have struggled with certain things, especially, with the whole like psychological aspect of like, cutting certain fats and cutting too many carbs, like what that's going
Mhm.
to do to the brain, all the chemical reactions. And you have to slowly walk with them. And I honestly think I'm going to end up taking the behavior modification
I love that one.
cert
Yeah.
because I mean, that's right up my alley. That's my next curiosity. But honestly, like I can just tell the person who's studying for that is you don't have to know everything. You don't even have to just know enough to pass, but you really should desire to be the best equipped trainer that you can be. Because in some way or another, it's either going to help you in your personal journey, it's going to help someone in your family, it's going to help a child that you're either coaching or that's your own, more than just a client. And it's more than just answers, it's just the confidence in knowing, just knowing what you've been taught. But I think also the biggest thing is just be aware that the questions are going to be asked in a way that's going to really make you think. They're not going to be super obvious and transparent, but again, just take the practice exams. Oh my gosh, like that was such, you did so well with helping me, because those practice exams helped boost my confidence. Because again, you really don't know what you don't like what you know until like you take the and you're like, oh okay, like I can do this. I can do this. And then it makes you more excited than fearful. And fear just
Yeah.
paralyzes you anyway. So that's my biggest piece of advice is just
Okay,
listen
so
for
here's one little caveat to mention about the practice test. The ones that we did together are not the ones that are on the NASM account now. The
yes,
ones that are on
correct.
the NASM account are so drastically different than what the real test is that I think that just throws a lot of people off when they get into the test. I think that that is like one of the contributing factors in a lot of people not passing the first time, is that it is so different than what they prepared for. So I think that's why like we
Mhm.
have the flexibility and the freedom to create a practice test that could be as closely aligned to the real thing as possible without, seeing the real thing, because
Absolutely.
NASM is restricted in how much test information they can release. So that's
Mm,
why it's not that they're doing it on purpose. It's that they're doing it to be in legal compliance with the
sure.
accreditation standards. So I think like that's another big reason why I think it's so important to make sure that you're getting good practice tests. Yeah. So what else would you say? So do you feel like it was worth doing tutoring for you, or like how would you have felt if you did it without that?
So I felt like I was in a bigger time crunch. There were some life changes that were happening for me that I needed to make sure that I did everything that I could to succeed. I'm Look, I mean, I grew up on a team sport. I grew up had with wonderful coaches, wonderful teachers. I have never had a tutor in my life. And so, but I know that I do really well with guidance, and I do really well with taking on suggestions and instructions, and I do really well with being coached. Um, and again, that's just like a childhood sports discipline. So I don't even know how I found out about NASM, or your tutoring, but I just remember I think it was like Quizlet or some kind of generic type of like testing, and I was like, I need something better than this. Like, oh my gosh, and I don't even know how I found you, but I just remember thinking, like, I just can't fail. And I didn't even know what the tutoring was going to be like. I was prepared to read every single word of every single chapter, do every
Oh,
single. I was prepared.
luckily it's not
Um,
that.
I know, but I also knew that, you know, you're just under a timer. Now, I know people that have been studying for years, 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 years. And every time I talk to them, I'm like, the test is going to change this year. Like the
Right.
test is going to change. And some people, they do just fine. They pass without a tutor. For me personally, I was under a time crunch. I was wanting to just have the best possible opportunity to learn what was really important for me. And I don't feel like I omitted anything. I don't feel like I skipped anything. I really felt like what I focused on under your suggestions and under your tutoring, I have somehow attracted those type of clients that it
Mm,
just has aligned very well with. Um, and even with the nutrition cert, on the days that I feel like, God, am I, imposter syndrome, there's a person will come up to me and like ask me something like, what, I guidelines say this, so it's
yes.
just been a really good opportunity to equip yourself the best way you can, and probably eliminate more anxiety of, am I doing this the right way? Because there's just so much information. There's just
Yes.
so much.
Yeah, and I think people are so intimidated by the test that their focus is the test. And then we lose sight of the fact that this is the test that is to prepare you to enter the field, right? And that we want people to really understand the information so that they can succeed in the field. So
Yes.
I think that there's that part of it. But the other thing, how you're mentioning the people that if you read the textbook for years, years and years can pass because the core problem is not being addressed, that you're having to teach yourself something
Yes.
that you should be taught. So I think like that's kind of where the
Mhm.
disconnect is on NASM's online modules, is that you still end up having to pick up a lot of that slack yourself, and it's just not. I mean, think of sports, right? Imagine if you had to play soccer and no one taught you, right? Like it's just like
No, that's
do
very true.
this, read a book, right? If you want to do this better, read a book. It's not like it won't do anything, but it's not the best approach, right? The best approach is going to be taught. So that's why we designed this to be like a college course, that it has 37 hours of lecture videos that you watch at your own time. You can play them back as often as you need to. And then we have the 750 practice questions that we go through one at a time, that you're going to train yourself step by step like a machine to learn how to
Mhm.
master a standardized test design.
Oh, 100%. And those were so helpful. And you just, I want to piggyback something because you just brought something up. When you're in like that, so let's say when you pass, and now of all the times to be alone, now you might have a boss, you might have coworkers, you might have departments that help send you leads that might help you build a business. But at the end of the day, you are on your own building your business. building your brand, building your sales pitches. Like no one is there to help you. No one is respectively, no one is going to care about the success of your business other than you, right? Because you're in a business for yourself. So if there's any time to not walk through this alone, so to speak, it would be preparing for the test.
Yeah, great advice. Okay, so now if anyone in our audience is listening and wants to reach out to you to connect with questions, maybe for guidance, consulting, anything like that, how can they reach you?
So again, a lot of my business is word of mouth. I'm not putting a lot of money into like websites just yet. Maybe as I expand, I would love to. So right now, the best way to reach me is on Instagram or on Facebook. I'm not on like, Snapchat or anything like that. But Instagram, I have way more people that have questions. So I can always send that to you, or if you want my handle, I can
Yeah,
say
you
it.
can share
I'm
the
not
handle
sure.
now if you want, and then we'll link to it below.
Okay, so it's also my soccer training, my personal page too. So it's everything's lowercase. It's A underscore game Latina. So A game Latina is
Oh,
my
cute.
Instagram. So it's A underscore game Latina, all one word, all lowercase. And then Facebook is just Arika Harden, and you'll see me either flexing or something silly.
All right, great. So, Erica, thank you so much for joining us. It was a pleasure to have you here. I think, like,
Thank you.
honestly, like this could have been a sales clinic for everyone, but especially for young people that they don't know where to go, right? That they're trying, they're willing to put in the time, they're willing to put in the effort, and they're kind of spinning their wheels because they're just not sure what to do. I think this was gold for our audience. So thank you so much, and I hope that we'll have you back soon. And I can't even imagine what you're going to share next time.
Oh my goodness. I mean, yes, please, please, if you're watching this and you're really just kind of at a crossroad or you're struggling, like please, you're not alone. There's a great community of fitness professionals. And if I can be in your corner, Ashley can be in your corner, please reach out.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you again, Erica. Take care.
Thank you. Bye guys. Thanks, Ashley.